America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book. I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sins.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it
or not.
Not now.
Not ever.
Never. Well, no, never. There might be a time, but probably not. Most likely, no.
No.
Sorry. I think first things first. Trevor just told me that someone wants me to have a mic stand.
Yes, somebody tipped very nicely and said, "Get this boy a mic stand."
We have mic stands. The thing is, this is still new getting back to being in the same room with Trev, and I just didn't remember to bring one.
Right.
I'll bring one next time. So sorry.
Or I'll pick one up.
I'll pick one up.
Yeah.
We'll have one.
We'll have one.
Relax.
Not next time. Because we're
right.
two on the same day.
Wow, you're breaking the magic. A little peek behind the curtain. You get to see how the sausages are made here. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of sausages.
Oh, is that what this episode's about?
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you know?
I had a feeling.
We just went for dinner. We had some Thai pie.
Yeah.
Thai pie.
Thai pie. Okay.
And Thai food at a place called Pie.
Yes, we went to Pie for Thai.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was telling Damien about how John Oliver talked about Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis, this is all going to tie in. Speaking of sausage, we went and had Thai food because they're both food. And then I go on to Ron DeSantis because he did this thing, according to John Oliver, where he would pronounce Thai as thigh if he was on a date. And then if his date corrected him, he would end it because women shouldn't correct men, according to him. And now he is a governor and probably on the ticket for the next president, maybe. And so that's something. And what he does is he's trying to create a little dictatorship.
Oh, yeah.
In Florida. A little bit of a fascist regime, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Where he's burning all the books, killing Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it's amazing the people who love to push freedom so much are the least. They want the least freedom for people.
Yep.
They really love taking them away.
They really, really do.
But so long as you have your guns, who cares?
Yeah. And one thing he did, about the buses or the planes to Martha's Vineyard, he helped fly a bunch of migrants.
Right.
Who are, in fact, human beings. He used them as a prank. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we're just figuring that out.
Yeah. Do you know who William Murray is?
Bill Murray?
Yeah, not this Bill Murry.
Oh.
But like a different William
No,
Murray.
I don't actually.
He was King Charles I's whipping boy.
Okay.
You know what a whipping boy is?
I've heard the name before. Refresh my whipping boy.
Basically,
memory.
if when Charles was a kid, if he did something bad,
oh yeah, he would get whipped.
He wouldn't get whipped. This other kid would get whipped.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
But then in exchange, he does get to be like an earl and gets to like be rich the rest of his life after King Charles is like not a kid anymore.
Would you want that?
No,
you wouldn't.
I wouldn't want to be whipped for someone else.
I think the fact that they make another kid do it is kind of weird.
Yeah,
I could see like if it was already someone who was an adult and they had agency and they could say, "Yeah, you know what? Whip me, make me rich."
Yeah,
or get someone who's like into being whipped.
Yeah, that's true.
But then, does it really count as punishment?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. They have to suffer.
He's what you call a scapegoat.
Yep.
Another famous example of a scapegoat. Did you ever sing that song where it's like the cow, Mrs. O'Leary, and the cow's in the shed and kicks over the lantern?
This sounds familiar.
And then it's like, it's going to be a hot town, and hot time in the old town tonight. Woo, woo.
This story sounds familiar. Okay. The song I don't know.
Okay, because I guess it was a parody of an old folk song, but we used to sing it as kids. But that's based on Catherine O'Leary. She was blamed for the Chicago fire.
Okay, that's probably where I've heard about Catherine O'Leary then.
But they don't really know how the Chicago fire started. But
could have been a million things.
Yeah, but they said that her cow kicked over a lantern, and that's what caused it. Because she was an Irish immigrant. There was a lot of anti-immigration stuff, so it just became the story that spread, and kids still sing about it.
When did they stop having anti-immigrant discrimination?
That hasn't stopped yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it stopped, once we, developed as a society, but I guess not, huh?
Not really.
Wow, okay.
And then Jesus Christ, I guess, was a bit of a scapegoat because he took on all our sins.
Right, so he was a scapegoat for everyone's evils.
Yeah.
Is that the same, though? Is it the same when you take the blame yourself?
No, probably not. Yeah.
Because it was just kind of, he was being crucified. He's like, no, I'm doing this for you. Yeah. I'm dying for all of you and your sins. Yeah. It was like, well, we didn't ask for that. And you just kind of assumed. Yeah. Right?
Right. Yeah, no. We definitely didn't ask for it. I'm good.
I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But really, is that what he did though? Like he went and he was being crucified. He's like, guys, trust me, it's fine. I'm dying for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weak.
I'm gonna do a quick spoilers here, so maybe fast forward 2 minutes. No, for The Last of Us.
Oh, okay.
You've played the games, right?
I played the games.
So I think it's the same ending.
I'm sure it's fine.
So yeah. Starting now. So the last episode of the season is when they're going to kill Ellie in the hospital, and he goes like, Matt, I'm going to save your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a better example of a father than God sacrificing his son.
Yeah.
Because it's like that moral conundrum of, killing her may save thousands.
Yeah.
But I don't want my daughter to be killed, so I'm gonna go on a murderous spree.
Right. Well, I mean, if the Bible's any indication of anything, I don't think God's a good parent in any regard.
No.
Like, how many times did he do fucked up shit to people just to teach them a lesson?
Yeah.
Like, crazy stuff that, if parents are doing, you're like gaslighting your children, you're coercing them to do things, and then you're punishing them for doing actual good deeds and then rewarding them for doing bad things.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Like, would you lock your child in a dungeon for eternity? Oh. Just for the simple sin of not loving you?
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, that's
maybe
God
they
does,
don't.
right?
Maybe there's a reason they don't love you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if your kids don't love you, more often than not, it's not because you.
Yeah.
It's not because of anything they've done.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. But I feel like there's probably a reason why they don't.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, there used to be this mentality that like, kids these days, they don't respect their parents. And now it's like, okay, well, what did the parents do to these kids that made it so that they want to keep their distance, or they want to, cut off contact for a while or forever? And
Well, I think I think there's a few reasons for that. I think one, just the way the family unit works, and we're a little less focused in one area as we might have been at one point, right? And we're not tied to like a religious standpoint or like a church standpoint as much. So people go away and they do their own thing.
Yeah.
Which they always did, but yeah. And then the internet and telling people, no, don't keep toxic people in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do not have to do that.
No.
So, have you been following much? This is going to come out way after we record it, but this is kind of new when we're recording it. But like the shooting in Tennessee, have you been following much about what's going on there?
I haven't. I've been pretty busy this week, but I have seen little bits about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, it was a Christian school. So that old argument of we kick God out of schools,
right?
That doesn't work.
I did see that this school also had some past controversies too.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I saw something about that like a few years ago. There was some shit going on in that school.
Either way, like no kid deserves to get shot.
No.
But like, and then, but then the shooter might be trans.
Oh,
probably is trans.
okay.
But for me, that was like, at first they're like, yeah, it was a woman shooter. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. That never happens. And that's like, it was a trans man. And then it's like, well, that makes more sense. Not because they're trans, but because it's a man and it's usually men.
Right.
And trans men are men. But now it's become a thing of a lot of right-wingers are just latching on to this thing of it's because they were trans that they did it. And then they're pointing at 4 mass shootings in the last 5 years where it was a trans person that did it. And if you think about how many mass shootings there are.
Yeah, haven't they had over like 40 since the beginning of this year?
I think way more than that, yeah.
So 4 and 5 years when you've probably had like hundreds, if not close to like 1,000 mass shootings in the last 5 years. That's such a small percentage, which seems to be like in line with just population demographics. Yeah. But like, holy fuck, man, you can't disregard a school shooting and blame it on trans people.
No, it's anything but guns.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But othering. So I wanted to talk about othering today because scapegoating, but it's like bigger than that.
Right.
And and that just really, this whole idea of we don't want to look at this problem of kids getting shot by the guns because lobbyists have made it so that we can't even address that issue.
Right.
So we're going to find something else to blame. And it's always been the case, whether it's video games or rock music or bullying or whatever it is, it's always something besides.
Yeah, it's something to distract people from the real argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it becomes a target of it's because this group of people exists, that's when historically it's been very dangerous and lives are lost.
Yeah,
and it's a very dangerous thing. Obviously, I've been watching Man in the High Castle lately. A lot about Nazis in that show.
Yeah.
And I was telling you at dinner, like, the thing that scares me about it is I think how you can just picture people in your life who would be comfortable in that world because it doesn't affect them.
Yep.
And that's the way they portray it, of like most people aren't rebelling against the Nazis in this show. They're just kind of like going about their life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about, even in our own lives, how much we do these things, without necessarily, like, again, like we talk about the continued poor treatment of indigenous communities in our country and in the States as well and elsewhere. Or, even just so much of the stuff that's going on in the States, but also in Ontario right now, stuff with like the Greenbelt and like trying to privatize our healthcare again and all this shit and just defunding public services again and again and again and again. And like, I know I'm personally like pissed about it.
Yeah.
But again, it's also to the point where it's just like, well, what can I do? And you just kind of keep going to a certain degree. We're not like in the streets protesting like we were saying they are in France over raising the retirement age by a couple of years. They have fires in the street and the garbage collectors stop picking up trash.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of collectivism here.
No, we have, especially in Canada, it's like that whole be polite thing where we don't get angry when we should get angry and we don't take to the streets when we should take to the streets.
I mean, there's something to be said, just like the sheer size of our country, I feel makes that a little more complicated, but I don't think it's unreasonable to do.
No.
So,
and,
I don't know.
Like Nazi Germany is an extreme example, but you see hints of it where it's like, it didn't start with we're going to round all the Jews up and put them in a concentration camp. It's
incremental.
Yeah, exactly. It started with, we have these problems. Here's a group of people we can blame for these problems.
Yep.
And it's easier to hate another group than to look at what actually needs to change in a society. And it's easier to fear another group than it is to...
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It starts with a trickle and then it... Yeah.
But I mean, that happens in so many countries that is it the like in China too, they're the same kind of things. Like all these things are happening with all these groups, and again it's all the othering. It's like this is why they're different, this is why we hate them, and this is why it's okay to do all this terrible stuff to them. But yeah.
When Nixon was running, the midst of like civil rights protests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he started on, instead of like an actual, like, here's some policies, he started on a fear-based, we're all about law and order. And you start to portray the protesters and people like standing up for their rights as lawless instead of like protesters. And we see this now with like, oh, it's not a protest, it's a mob or it's a riot.
Right. Well, the thing about that too, in this, isn't it in their constitution the right to protest?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So they're not only being lawful, they're exercising their constitutional rights, which a lot of these fuckos are constantly going on about when it benefits them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And it's like point in case gun lobbyists and those fucks.
And that's the thing. I saw a few tweets from these right-wing people where they're not they're saying now that we should restrict guns to trans people, and it's like, so all of a sudden you're for background checks and gun control, like when it comes to one group of people.
They don't see that as being discriminatory.
No, not at all, because they see it as these people are brainwashed, or these people are like in this transgenderism cult or whatever
you mean
bullshit.
like the cult that they're in?
Yeah, they're not in a cult.
No.
And but you see this all the time, like segregation, obviously that's otherism, and apartheid, obviously, and it's not like this is the first attack on trans people or like the LGBTQI community. Like that's been something for years where they've been a scapegoat for any of the like harm or So, but what causes this, Damien?
Like what causes otherism?
Yeah.
Oh, it's about shitty people who want to stay in control and in power.
Yeah.
So what better way to do that is to ostracize a vulnerable and marginalized group.
Yeah.
And make them the bad guy.
Paul Herzog was a Holocaust survivor, and he said, "It didn't take long before the edict came out. Every Jew must wear a yellow star. This is the first time I realized that I'm different, even among my friends." Yeah, so according to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, there's two big steps. Categorizing a group of people according to perceived differences such as ethnicity, skin color, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. And then 2, identifying that group as inferior and using an us versus them mentality to alienate this group. There's a guy named John A. Powell. I was watching some of his videos today, and so good. So he talks about how when there's big shifts in culture, like civil rights movement, it's kind of like post-war, post-depression.
Yep.
There's so many changes happening in society that, especially like post-war, that instead of just saying, okay, we're all freaking out, there's so many changes, everybody's kind of scared, instead of just dealing with that, this culture anxiety, people use that to say the reason you're anxious is because of this group of people.
Right.
So you identify what their difference is. Oh, they're from Ireland, so they're different, or they're gay, so they're different, or they're black, so they're different. You point out that difference, and you say not just like, hey, we have differences, that's great, we should all get along, but you point out that difference and say, this is why this is happening. And he also talks about how our brain, just evolutionarily, we do notice difference on a subconscious level.
For sure.
And when you don't address that and be like, oh yeah, I noticed this, I had this reaction, I had this bias, you can easily be manipulated into being like, oh, I have this instant reaction, therefore there must be something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, again, that comes back to, I think so much of it is just like a socialization thing, like people who aren't exposed to a lot of these different communities on their day-to-day lives, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that plays a huge factor in a lot of it. Not to saying that, like, there's an exclusivity in that. There are tons of people who are exposed to different groups and ethnicities and still are bigoted fucking assholes. Yeah. So, Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and he also talks too about like when you need to interact with people who are different than you, but we have this tendency of like, oh, I'm going to be colorblind, or I'm going to just find our similarities, which you do want to find your similarities.
Yeah, for sure.
But you also have to embrace that there's a difference. And when you embrace that there is a difference, you're telling that subconscious mind that like, I recognize this difference, but I'm acknowledging that differences are good.
For sure.
And so you're rewiring your own brain instead of feeding into this like idea of their difference, therefore I should be afraid, or therefore we should,
I mean, I think it's only natural that we look for commonalities, you know, like it's how we relate to people. It's how we like can identify with that. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't mean that everybody's different.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Well, what are some signs
of othering? Ooh.
Attributing positive qualities. So this is from a website called Very Well Mind, which is a great title. Attributing positive qualities to people who are like you and negative qualities to people who are different than you.
Okay, that feels biased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling distrustful or upset with people of social groups, even though you don't know anyone from that group. Yeah. Refusing to interact with people because they are different from you than your social group. Thinking that people outside your social group are not as intelligent, skilled, or as special as you and your group.
Right. That just sounds like you're being an asshole.
Yeah. And
I mean, unless you're all friggin' Mensa scientists.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense that you think everyone's stupid. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know what they say.
Thanks, geniuses.
Everybody's smart in their own way.
Right.
Except... And I'm just going to add a big, long beep there. And then we can cut back to you being like, Trevor. No.
Trevor, don't say that. That's appalling, if true.
Yeah. And like you said, it's just a good way for leaders to to take advantage of this. Have you seen that interview, the recent interview with Jon Stewart on CNN, where they were talking about...
I don't think I have.
Okay. But he's basically like, what do you do if you don't actually have any plans on how to run a country? You create these culture wars.
Right.
And that's what they do. They make America great again. It used to be great at some point, and then these immigrants came, so we have to build a wall, and we're going to work on getting rid of all, non-white, non-Christians.
Yeah. Well, I think the big issue with like from the political side is so much of it is it's become less about actually wanting to help people, and it's become about making money for these people.
Yeah.
I think the big problem is as soon as we had politician as a career, that's when shit really kind of got fucked.
Yeah.
Because all they're trying to do is make as much money as they can for them and their friends, and then the lobbyists are just like putting money into them.
Yep.
And then they're pushing their agendas too. The fact that we allow corporations to do so much involved with the political spectrum is insane. The fact that there's no checks and balances for this stuff it's bananas.
Yeah.
That we've let it get as far as it is. And I mean, I don't really know what we can do without like a huge overhaul for the whole system. But there doesn't seem to be any actual care for the actual people of the country, any country that we're dealing with right now.
And like, yeah, because something like causing division will get you power, sure.
For sure.
But in the long run, what does it do for anybody?
Right.
And like historically, like you have to constantly pick new groups because you're constantly realizing that, oh yeah, just people are people.
Yeah.
Oh, this group isn't that bad. Oh no, you're right, we're wrong. Or those people were wrong, those people are great. But what about this evil group?
Yeah, and then I think the issue too that's also worse, like bad about it too, is that so many people are into that like pocket of someone else that even the ones who are genuine, you can't really tell them who's actually sincere and who's not too, right? It just muddies the waters even further, and then that plays into the shitty people's hands.
Yeah,
and then we get terrible people elected doing terrible things.
Yeah. and then you get terms like I don't even know if I should say like a liberal, and they do a portmanteau with a word for mental disabilities.
Oh, yes.
You know that term.
Yeah.
I've been called that a few times, and it's like, so somebody, because they're always the people who are like, oh,
Right.
nobody can have opinions anymore.
Yeah.
But when your opinion is, I don't think we should openly mock a people group, then you're also now in this people group of,
Well, my issue with things like that is these are the people. I mean, it's been parodied many times in other formats and much bigger platforms. But so many of those people who are like, you can't say anything around anymore. You can't have opinions. Like, motherfuckers, you're all having your opinions.
Yeah.
You're sharing them on a global scale some of the times.
Yeah.
Half of these people are on Fox News every night saying this. What do you think you're doing? You're saying it right there.
Yeah.
There's a difference between having an opinion and then having consequences for those opinions.
Exactly.
And they don't seem to understand the nuance between that, because you can have your opinion, but you're going to have to accept that most people think it's a shitty opinion.
Yeah.
And you're either going to have to live with the consequences that maybe your opinion is bad.
Yeah.
Or you can just shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And people always say, oh no, somebody has a different opinion than you, when it's like,
I'm fine
you're
with that.
saying, like, it's like, oh, I'm saying my opinion about your opinion.
Right.
That's
But again, those people who have those opinions, they're often very disparaging to one group or another.
Yeah.
They're toxic. They're like, why would I want you to be? Why would I be happy about you having an opinion?
Yeah.
Where you are being bigoted, racist,
Yeah.
sexist, homophobic, any of these things.
Yeah.
Why? That's not. I mean, it's an opinion, but it's not something that I think people should be happy about. I think we should think that's terrible.
Exactly. And like, to go back to like the Nazi thing, and I think that's the thing too, is like whenever you compare someone, like I'm sure we turn
Right.
people off just by mentioning earlier about the Holocaust, like just mentioning that Nazi Germany, because as soon as you bring up Nazis, people are like, oh, I'm out.
Right.
But it's like, I would rather
Yep.
we nip it in the bud before
Yeah.
it gets to that state, you know?
Yeah.
I would rather we're like, just so you know, this is a dangerous ideology that can lead to these extremes.
Yeah.
Why don't we cut it off here? And why don't we go on a picnic together instead? You know, like,
Yeah. I'm also like, one other thing that I think is worrying about this is I think there are a lot of, I don't want to say well-intentioned people, but people who I think under the right circumstances would realize that they're in a bad place.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, one, don't like to admit when they're wrong.
yeah,
And they feel like it's a personal attack when their beliefs or values are challenged in that way. And then so many people are led astray by the media, by the politicians and things like that, to think that you're justified in reacting that way and saying these things like, oh, no, they're taking away your rights. They're doing this.
Yeah.
Even though the stuff you are saying is actually hurtful or I think a lot of times outdated.
yeah,
And a lot of people still hold on to that stuff. And it's easier for them to fight back against that than to be like, oh, this thing that I thought was true for my whole life is actually a very terrible thing.
yeah. It's that
And
sunk cost fallacy too. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Totally. I mean, which is, so you got to know when to cut it loose,
Yeah.
man. You got to realize that it's okay to admit that you're wrong
Yeah.
and make those changes. But I mean, that's so hard for people to do.
yeah. And I was thinking recently about. So I have a family member who years ago they went to this corner store that they went to all the time.
Right. I remember you've told me about this.
Yeah,
Yes.
run
Sorry.
by it's okay. Like run by somebody who was an immigrant. I think I want to say Pakistan,
Yep.
but anyways, they were an immigrant from somewhere, and somebody saw them whenever they would take cash, it would go in a different drawer. It would like it. I don't know. They said it didn't go through the machine. Whatever.
Right. Okay.
So they pointed out like, oh, look at that. They're when they take cash, they're not putting it through the system because they want to cheat on their taxes. So they took it as this person is cheating on their taxes because they saw them do something with the till.
Rather than dropping it into a safe box.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's something we would do at Starbucks was we'd drop
Anything over a 20.
Yeah, we put it in the safe box. So it could have been something as simple as that. And they're dropping it in a safe box. We don't know what was happening. That turned into, if you're going to come to my country, at least pay taxes.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
My problem with that is how many corporations and rich, affluent fucking white people aren't paying taxes or paying their fair share and taking every loophole that they can to avoid paying their fair share and helping the social services that run this country. So you want to talk about like an immigrant family who owns a business and is contributing to society and their neighborhood in a positive way, you're going to give them shit about it? Yeah. Whereas so many fucking people who've lived in this country their whole lives do everything they can to fuck over the people that live here. Yeah. So get the fuck out of here. You're gonna be mad about a few $100s when there's people withholding billions of dollars in taxes from this country. Yeah. Meanwhile, raking in record profits and just like taking away from.
And the thing is, too,
it's disgusting.
Because this was a family member, I could see the progression.
Yeah.
So it goes from that, and then it ends up being a lot of times what they do, meaning all immigrants. A lot of times what they do is blah blah blah. So it turns from I saw one guy,
right?
I assumed what they were doing to all these immigrants. They come in, they do this,
right?
And that's how easily those dominoes fall. Of like. When you see just someone not as a person, not as somebody who lives in your neighborhood and, like you said, offers a service to your neighborhood, when you're othering them immediately as this isn't my neighbor, this is an immigrant, and I'm going to judge what all immigrants do based on.
I should also say you don't have I'm not saying that's a requirement though. You don't have to be a contributing member of the community in order to have value and worth and to be treated like a human being. That's not. Yeah. I was just making the comparison towards something else. But yes, I completely agree. And again, that's just someone who is, because of the situation they're in and the influences that are working upon them, they're using those to take that situation and blow it into something else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're constantly being reinforced, like, this is why they're bad, this is why they're bad, this is why your life is shit is because these people. Yeah. Where maybe it's not those people, maybe it's the ones who are telling you that it's because of those people that your life is shit.
Yeah. And now that you say that too about contributing, that's even like, just saying that, like, the way people treat homeless people because they see them as somebody who's 100%. Not contributing. And it's like, you see them as a homeless person, not an unhoused person. Well, and
who was it who said that a society's value is based on how they treat its most vulnerable? Who do you know who said that? Mm-hmm. It's a very I can't remember. Okay, we'll look it up. It was probably Jeff. But yeah, that's
and it's like, find like we said too, like sometimes your brain does things subconsciously, and
for sure,
what you have to do is you have to call yourself out.
Yeah,
and that can suck sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, unrelated. This is completely unrelated, but I'm going to go on a brief tangent. On my other podcast, once we did one of those would you rathers. Yeah, and it was would you rather get rid of all dogs or all cats in the world?
Dogs.
Great. And I said the same thing, but Cody, my co-host, he said cats because dogs are useful and they do stuff. And I'm like, oh, so their value is purely based on their use? And he was just like, no, I just think that they contribute and they do stuff. I'm like, okay, so you're saying that the only reason dogs are there or you would keep dogs is because of their worth. Yeah. And he was like, no, I'm trying to logic it out. And I'm like, okay, buddy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I wouldn't want either of them to go because I love dogs too.
I'm fine picking an arbitrary side. But I prefer cats, so I would choose cats. I'm not going to base it on worth, but
I messaged my sibling Sam last night, and I was like, if somebody came in, put a gun to your cat's head and said, if you don't kill one member of your family right now, I will shoot your cat.
Okay. ...
Which family member would you kill?
Can I get away with the murder? Is that part of the deal?
That's part of the deal.
Cool, we can do that.
Yeah, it was.
I hope you're listening, family.
So we decided who it would be. Yeah. Because it's not going to be our cat.
No. Like, how close in the family?
We said in-laws count.
Okay.
So I'm kicked out of Christmas dinner.
Well, I mean, if they're already listening to this, I feel like...
Yeah, they're out. Yeah. They know who they are. I should cut that, but probably won't.
Whatever. We kept it vague enough.
Yeah, exactly. I'll beep that.
Oh my.
I said his name.
You actually said...
Yeah. Yeah, I think I could be wrong. Because I just discovered him, but watch some stuff from John A. Powell. I capitalized it here, but everywhere I see it, it's not capitalized, and I think he prefers not to have any capitals in his name.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know why, but every platform I saw him on, it's John A. Powell, no capitals. So it could be a religious thing. I'm not sure.
Is it a stylistic thing?
Maybe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really cool stuff on just like
what is his like title? You know what I mean? Like, is he like a scientist? Is he just like an artist?
He's a professor.
Like professor,
but I don't know of what.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, is he like an artist and he considers him stuff like that, dealing with that kind of thing? You know.
Good question.
I mean, it's not necessarily important for what we're doing. I'm just
because I just discovered him today, so I don't know a lot. But I like the cut of his jib.
Yeah. What's a jib?
I think it's like a knot you tie on a boat.
Oh. What's a boat?
It's like a sail.
What?
Boat. Yes, sails are sail.
Sail.
Anyways, any other thoughts on othering?
Man, you know what? It's a whole fun time.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it for our whole existence as a species.
I feel like I could have tied it in better with religion and like the theme of this podcast, but I feel like it just fits in with so much.
Yeah.
Of like the discord that.
Yeah, I think you can make inferences about how it ties in with that. I don't know if it's...
Well, I mean, the way the Muslim population was treated after 9/11, and the way the LGBTQIA population has been treated in general by religious people, I think is a great example of othering and how religion can be used to put two groups against each other. Yeah.
And that's always my thing, is like so much of it is they push it as something like they're threatening your values or something, I guess, and they're doing something to you when it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And most of the people who are so concerned about this are trying to push things that are going to affect other people's lives. So I'm just like, the hypocrisy is insane to me.
Yeah.
The fact that it's just like rules for thee but not for me kind of thing. It's gross.
It's really gross. And it's like, even to bring it back to like abortion, like you other people who have had abortions as, or will have abortions as, like just these evil women who want to kill babies and are
but if they need one, it's okay,
Yeah.
because it was just a matter of circumstance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different situation for them. Fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yep. And I don't use the word slut, but it just felt like that's
Yeah,
the
no,
word
you were
they-
using it as in context of that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But that's the other thing too, is that restricting access to that is making things more dangerous.
Yeah.
You're causing more deaths and more harm. As well, a lot of times anti-abortion stances come in tandem with a lack of sexual education and a regression of these things, which we've seen time and time again, that proper sexual education, talking about these things, and access to safe and clean medical care in these situations, it goes down. Abortions go down.
Yeah.
There's less deaths, there's less instances of this shit happening, and there's less need for it because people are informed, they're safe, they're healthy, and I mean, do you really think you're going to stop people from getting abortions by banning them? All you're doing is criminalizing people for nothing and then making them make drastic and difficult choices.
Yeah. I mean, look at Lauren Boebert, who is the worst, but because she's been touting this like abstinence only education kind of thing for a while.
It doesn't work.
And now she's a grandma at 36, and it's like, how do you think that happens?
Yeah, because you're a fucking idiot. That's why. I've been using a lot of colorful language this episode.
And then she brags about it on stage, like, I'm going to be a grandma. It's like, your 17-year-old getting a 15-year-old pregnant isn't something to brag about on stage.
Yeah. That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
Yeah. Speaking of which, should we thank some patrons?
Yeah, let's thank the patrons.
Well, it's actually going to be just me thanking the patrons, I think.
That's okay. Trevor, thank the patrons.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much. Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bible study. First of all, huge prayer request for Damien. Damien couldn't be with us today because he's in another country. Apparently, there is more than one country, and Damien is in another one. So we pray that the Lord protects him from the foreigners in the UK. And I just pray that he gets there's a hedge of protection around him and Cassie, and that they have traveling mercies. And we just lift them up to you right now. But first, I have some other prayer requests. I have a huge prayer request for Anthony and for Leah and for Hank, and a huge prayer request for Sarah and for Andrea and for Harold. We just lift them all up to you, and may you also put that protection hedge around them. And then if you feel like you have time, may you also put a moat of protection around them as well, so that they feel even more safe. And I just pray right now, Lord, that you put a bunch of metaphorical alligators in the miraculous moat that you have created around the edge of protection. I just pray this all in your name. And as well, we have a very special prayer request for Lindsay. Lindsay's been out watching films in the movie theater, and of course, that is very wrong. And there's also rumors that they've been dancing and kicking off their Sunday shoes. And we just pray right now that they will find the light and follow that light out of the darkness of seeing the newest Minions movie. And as well, a huge prayer request for Squatch. Squatch has been drinking sparkling cider. Sparkling cider, of course, is a sin to drink because we're supposed to stay away from all appearances of evil. And since someone might think it's champagne, of course, we cannot partake in that. So Squatch 79, we just lift them up in prayer and ask that the Lord take away this temptation to have carbonation in their apple juice. And I just pray right now as well for Connor. Connor has been doing the most evil of all things, and that is playing the Christian version of Magic the Gathering, which does exist. And again, that has to be a sin because it's based on a sinful game. So all around, so many sins. And of course, they've all been kicking off their Sunday shoes as well and dancing and getting footloose. And some of them have been getting fancy free. So we just lift them all up to you in the name of all the gods that we currently believe in. Amen. And now a Christian rock lyric, and Damien will magically be back.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
Damien! Hey! Do you like to rock?
I've been known to rock from now and then.
What about rolling?
Time to time. Oh, I don't roll.
Oh,
I get dizzy. Actually, I wouldn't mind rolling. It's fine.
Oh. I found a particularly bad song.
Oh.
Apparently the band isn't as bad in some of their other songs, but this song is really, really bad.
Okay.
The song is called Soul Bait.
The song is called Soulbait?
And the band is called Code of Ethics.
Oh my God. I think Soulbait's a better band name, but it is a bad name.
That's what I thought it was at first too. And then I could be wrong, but like the song does talk about being soulbait. So I think that's the name of the song. And then the band is Code of Ethics. Maybe it switched.
Maybe it's the other way. Like the band name got the name from a song.
Yeah.
You know?
But this song goes, flash the darkness, fill the night, turn the love into light. We're the ones he said to lead the lost to arms outspread, shine a light, and they will see, be a hook and set them free. 'Cause it's true that we're all soul bait. When they see me, do they see you? Do they see something else? I do. Dangle me on a line in a bowl where fish are blind. Shine a light and they will see. Be a hook and set them free, because it's true that we are soul bait.
What does soul bait mean?
We're trying to... Okay, so in the Bible they say we're fishers of men, because we got to get men to be Jesus lovers.
So we're trying to lure men into our layers?
Into our layers, yeah. We're trying to get their soul.
Yeah, we're trying to be sirens for Jesus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Soul bait.
Ugh.
It just sounds gross.
I think the best portrayal of a siren, we were just talking about how you need to watch this show, but What We Do in the Shadows, there's a siren on that. That is the funniest thing in comedy history. So
funniest thing
in comedy history.
Okay.
So watch that.
I'll have to.
But this song's really bad. Check it out on the internet if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I got to hear the chords and like the melody, and because
it goes like this. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Can you imagine that?
I could actually. I could imagine that. I don't want to, but I can. Yeah, I mean, this isn't the worst lyrics I've heard for some of the Christian rock stuff.
Oh, it's bad though.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But I feel like hearing the song itself would really push it over the edge.
Yeah.
I think.
Deep water, my destiny. Oh, be a neon effigy. It's true that we are all soul bait.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah. And it sounds too close to jailbait.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Just didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks everybody. Hope you have a beautiful day.
Thanks, goodbye.
Work, Sky Moon.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.